one question. Sana ba yun? Yeah. For the number one question, Mr. Bruno Nars has been paraplegic since he was 14. He was injured in a diving accident. He is not yet 33, and his mother, who has supported him, has passed away, leaving him with no other supports. He will need to apply for public assistance because, okay, what's your answer for this one? Yeah, I need to know your answer in the chat section. Okay. Some of you got the correct answer. Where can I find this one? Okay. The correct answer here is letter B. His disability will limit his ability to be employed. Kasi ang nature ng kanyang problem is yung personal inadequacies. If you can still remember sa ating discussion, there are three sources of problem or need. First is personal inadequacies. Second is yung environmental inadequacies. Third is both. Pag sinasabi natin personal inadequacies, ano ba yung consider natin na problem? It can be due to, sa case na ito is physical incapacity. He cannot do what is expected of him at that point of age because of his personal incapacity, no? Paraplegic siya. And because of that, ang nature of the problem niya is what would be the basis para maka-avail siya ng social public assistance is his disability, no? Letter A, he is unemployable. We cannot say that he is unemployable because hindi siya basis kasi ang nature of the problem itself is due to his disability, may certain limitation. Pero doesn't mean unemployable na siya. May limitation lang. Pero at some point, pwede siyang ma-employ at his own capacity. Letter C, he can never marry someone who can assist him. Masyado siya, ang itong answer ng letter C, masyado siyang malayo. If you try to look at this, doon sa situation. And letter D, he was injured at such a young age, hindi siya nagiging basis, no? Even though 14 years old na dependent pa yan sa parents, pero at that, kung ganyan yung magiging reason na pwede siyang maka-avail ng public assistance, nagiging invalid na rin yung reason ng iba. Okay? Basta ang pinopoint ko dito, whatever it is, the only reason that a person should avail or should be qualified to avail a program or social welfare or public assistance, it's because of his nature of the problem. Na ang nature ng kanyang problema based sa kanyang situation, may certain limitation yung kanyang physical incapacity na hindi na siya pwede makatrabaho. That is why he is qualified to avail this type of public assistance. Okay, hindi ko ma-view yung inyong wait lang ha. Hindi ko ma-view yung inyong Hindi ko ma-view yung inyong chat. Okay, sige. Number 2. Yeah. Which among the following responses shows that the social workers sound as if they believe their clients are incompetent? Only the workers know the whole picture and do not encourage real discussion of clients filling in problems. So, dito, ang kina-question naman po is yung context, no? Although mali yung sabi natin sa social work, no? Sabi natin that ang pag-assume na ang client is incompetent is hindi naaayon doon sa ating principle of client's participation. Now, we believe na ang kliyente merong potentialities na kinakailangan i-maximize. Siguro at that point of time, yung kliyente is na masyadong mabigat yung problema, hindi niya nakayanan. That is why kinakailangan ng social work intervention. Pero ang tinatanong dito, which among the following na statement that would say na ang kliyente is incompetent? Sige, let's try to look at letter D. Your plan is faulty because you never did your research. Actually, ang lahat na ito is, kung titingnan natin sa social work perspective, mali po talaga lahat. No? Mali lahat ng choices. And even the question is mali. Pero sa pagkakamali na yan, saan dito na statement ang nasasang-ayon doon sa question na incompetent ng kliyente? Sige, before we proceed, what's your answer? Okay. Okay. Some of you answer, it's letter A. Some, it's letter C. Okay. Ang answer ko dito is, okay. Ang answer ko dito is letter A. Letter A. Why letter A? Tingnan natin. Now, look, you have two choices. You can either stay or leave. That's what you have to decide. Letter B, I don't care what anyone tells you. You have to go to see that lawyer. Letter C, you won't get medications if you don't attend to the group therapy regularly. Letter D, your plan is faulty because you never did your research. So, ang pinaka-close na answer sa letter A, pwede natin pagdebatehan is yung letter D, A or D. Kasi yung letter B, tingnan natin, I don't care what anyone tells you, you have to go to see that lawyer. It's not somehow you assume the client is incompetent, but you are stating that mayroong mga chat. Wait lang ha. Hindi ko talaga ma-view yung mga chat nyo. Ayan. Kabalon na day ko. Okay. Ayan. Okay. May malaking gray na screen. Okay na, sir. Okay? Sige. Letter A yung answer. Because if you are assuming that the client is incompetent, you are bounding them within the limits of two choices. Now, dito sa letter A na choice, pinapipili mo lang siya without presenting the consequences because you assume that the client is incompetent to reason out those consequences. In letter B naman, I don't care what anyone tells you, you have to go to see that lawyer. Dito, although makikita natin na merong limitation doon sa self-determination, but mas malapit yung answer na letter A. Letter C, you won't get your medications if you don't attend to the group regular therapy. Dito, it is a form of manipulation. Letter D, your plan is faulty because you never did your research. Again, ang planning is supposed to be hindi lang naka-focus ang effort. Lahat ng plano is lahat ng plano is nanggagaling kay kliyente. It is a two-way process. Even assessment, it is a two-way process. May input si worker, mayroong input si client. And kapag hindi magkatugma yung suggestion ni client saka iba yun din yung nakikita ni worker, doon na magsisimula yung process na tinatawag nating bargaining. So the answer for number 2 is letter A. Okay, wala naman atang magpo-protest sa number 2 na question. Number 3, okay. Number 3, the process of assessment is the task of the. Ano yung answer niyo dito? There's C, Mas Angelo, Polly, C, Joshua Isabello, C, Mary Hyacinth, C. Okay. If letter C yung answer, sige, palalimin natin yung yung question. If letter C yung answer, ano yung contribution ni client sa assessment? Sige. Since tama lahat yung answer niyo dito, ano yung contribution ni kliyente sa assessment? Julie, the information. Who else? What else? Ang answer ko ay A dito, sir. Okay, social worker. How about the others? How about the others? Si Miss Julie lang ata ang nagbigay. A sa akin din dito. Si John, Helen Landis participation. What about the others? Sige, let's proceed. The process of assessment is a task of the. Mapapansin natin in layman's understanding or in layman's observation, usually, ang tagagawa ng assessment, siguro, nagkamali ata tayo ng definition or konsepto on what is assessment. Pag sinasabi kasi nating assessment, hindi ibig sabihin assessment statement lang, no? 'Di ba, mapapansin nyo during your undergrad and even sa orange book natin ngayon, kung nababasa nyo yan, yung term na assessment, pwede natin siyang ma-associate doon sa term na assessment statement. Mali po yun. Kasi ang assessment is hindi limited sa assessment statement. Assessment entails, kasali na dyan yung intake, ibig sabihin you collect, you analyze, and you interpret that information from the client. Therefore, assessment is a dual process. It is a two-way process. Si social worker, yung taga-kolekta, taga-analyze, taga-interpret ng data coming from the client. Ang part ni client is taga-bigay ng information. Kasi hindi siya magiging client, no? Ang prospect client natin is hindi magiging client if hindi siya willing magbigay ng information. Okay? So clear po 'yan. Ang part ni kliyente sa assessment is magbigay ng information, tagapagpalinaw kung if merong clarification sa social worker para mas maintindihan niya, makapag-suggest siya later on doon sa second phase na planning na mas mga responsive and mas effective and relevant na mga intervention kapag naklaro 'yon at the assessment na phase. So, 'yun, two-way process siya. And what else? Provide information, client kasi nakikita, nakukuha ang problem mo. Tama yan, it's a dual or two-way process. Okay, thank you. Hindi lang siya galing kay social worker kasi kung kay social worker lang, hindi siya matatawag na assessment if you're basing merely on what is observable. No? Gawain po yan ng researcher. Yung kung you will try to assess the situation based on what you observe without getting first-hand information. Yan yung participatory research na tinatawag natin. Client naman, hindi pwedeng si client lang yung umiintindi ng kanyang problema. Kasi what if ngayon si kliyente nga hindi niya maintindihan kaya nga lumapit siya sa iyo. Hindi din sa agency psychiatrist kasi sa agency psychiatrist is more on doon sa psychological aspect. Kapag mas malalim na yung problema, pwede nating ma-refer siya para magkaroon ng psychological evaluation. And saka sa psychiatrist, more on siya doon sa mga gamot, no? More on siya doon sa pagbibigay ng psychiatric intervention. Okay? Wala na atang magpo-protest. Let's proceed sa number 4. From the social work point of view, the most desirable requisite for a potential caseworker to have at the outset is, ito, advantage sa inyo kung alam nyo yung ibig sabihin ng requisite. It is another term for requirement. No? Before you can proceed, kinakailangan meron ka nito. So what's your answer? Sa number 4. Okay, letter D, a desire to help people work through their problems. Letter D. Letter D, Eliza, Tibunsay. Letter D, Stephanie, Polly, Mary Hyacinth. Letter D, Gladys. Letter D, Janjan. Letter D. Okay. So bakit letter D? Sige, in brief sentence. Bakit letter D among the others? Tingnan natin kung merong sasagot dito. Sige, wala namang mali. It's your opinion. And of course, it is a standardized test. Meron talagang. Okay. I'm still waiting. Obviously, mali yung letter A. Tama po ba? No? Hindi naman requisite na magbayad ka ng taxpayer para maging potential case worker. And letter C, limited siya. No? Hindi naman pwedeng letter C. Understanding of the functions of the DSWD. Paano ngayon kung yung agency mo, ng employer mo is an NGO? No? Ngayon, it's between letter B and letter D. Tama po ba? Letter B, knowledge of eligibility requirements for assistance. Pwede siya. Letter D, a desire to help people work through their problems. Tama din naman po siya. But ang tinatanong kasi, ang question kasi is more on nakafocus doon sa philosophical base. Yung ating philosophy. Pag sinasabi nating philosophy, this is the justification of why we practice. So, in other words, it is the motivation of why we practice social work. Dito, ang specific na tinatanong is yung as a case worker. So, meaning you are helping individuals and families. Since ang question is nakalean doon sa philosophical base, based on my understanding, no, as I analyze the question, the correct or the best answer should be letter D. Congratulations, tama kayong lahat. Maliban doon sa hindi naka-input doon sa ating group chat. So, a desire to help people work through their problems, no? And then yung motivation mo. And what guides this motivation is yung paniniwala natin that every human being is as worth and dignity. So, merong chat si Mama Liza. Sabi niya, aside sa skill, you need to have passion to help individuals in need. That is correct. No? Sige, wala na ata magpo-protest kasi simple question lang naman ito. Number 5. A child of one of your clients developed tuberculosis of the lungs and is rapidly getting worse. The welfare of the entire family is thus endangered. What's your answer for this? It's letter C, arrange hospital care for the child. Jora Biaka, Mariset, Stephanie, Polly, Eliza. Sige. Letter C, Opo. Okay. So, I think lahat naman sa inyo is majority. Yung answer is letter C. Bakit letter C? Oh, ayan. Okay, sige. Bakit letter C? Now, let's analyze the question. A child. Okay, nagsimula siya sa word na child. Pag sinasabi nating child, based from UNCRC, United Nations Conventions of the Right of the Children, and under the Philippine laws and policies, pag sinasabi nating bata, child, automatic, ang edad is 18 years old and below. 18 years old and below. Or, based sa Presidential Decree number 603, bata is 18 years old and below, and those who are mentally incapacitated. Yung mga 32 years old pero may problema sa pag-iisip, consider siya na bata. No? Under siya sa PD 603. So a child, let me say, pag ang term is child, ang may karapatan, no? ang primary duty bearer is yung parent. So the parent now has the responsibility for the welfare of the child. Siya yung recognized by the law na siya yung may responsibility, may accountability doon sa bata. So siya yung tagapag-decide kung anong nararapat, no, nakarapat-dapat para sa bata. But of course, may limitation din yung na-phrase na yun. What if si parent ngayon ay may nagkakaroon ng merong certain limitation. So meron ding limitation na merong accountability si parent na yun so when it comes to decision making. For example, si mag-ina ay pamilya, si tatay at saka si nanay. Si tatay is drug peddler, si nanay naman is drug user. Of course, under the Philippine laws, pwede silang tanggalan ng karapatan na maging parent under the concept of parens patriae. Yung parens patriae na tinutukoy ko is yun yung the state will be the secondary duty bearer kapag nakikita nila na hindi nagiging effective yung parent, no, pag-support, pagpapalaki ng bata. So may karapatan. Kaya nga may existing tayong mga group home for girls and women, yung mga institutions natin that caters the needs of the children kapag galing sila sa family with difficult circumstances. So si state na ngayon yung mag-a-assume as parent. Yun yung concept ng parents patriae. Nagsimula yan doong panahon ng Amerika dito sa Pilipinas yung na-introduce yan na konsepto. May karapatan na tanggalan ang magulang basta may kinalaman sa welfare ng bata, ang best interest of the child. Okay. So dito, ang may karapatan mag-decide is yung parent. Kasi ang term dito is a child one of your clients developed. So ang magiging focal dito when it comes to decision making is yung parent. Now ngayon, ang tanong is, ano yung gagawin mo? Siyempre, tuberculosis, ang yung right to self-determination, again, di ba, na-discuss natin yung right to self-determination is may certain limitation. And one of the ground of limiting the right to self-determination, no, pwede nating i-violate yung self-determination kapag kapag in danger, no, kapag nasa danger yung decision na yun. Like for example, if the parent would insist na dito lang sa bahay, but ano yung magiging response natin? Pwede nating sabihin na we are ethically guarded by the self-determination as principle. Na pwede naming kunin muna yung bata. Na pwede naming i-arrange for hospital care. So the correct answer is letter C. Yan, congratulations. Kasi increased assistance because of sickness. We cannot just simply, kasi kung letter A yung answer mo, increased assistance because of sickness, you are assuming some facts na wala sa situation. Kasi simple lang naman yung situation. A child, one of your client, developed tuberculosis of the lung and rapidly getting worse. And because of that, the entire family is endangered. Yun lang yung kinakailangan nating i-analyze. Kasi yun lang yung binigay na situation. Pero pag sinabi mo increased assistance because of sickness, what would be your basis? Siguro nag-assume ka na beyond what is given. So hindi pwedeng letter A. Letter B, discontinued assistance because of the health menace created. Again, nagiging violation din siya. Nagiging violation din siya ng principle of acceptance. Letter D, send the child to a summer camp to get, this is a ridiculous answer, letter D. So the best option and the only correct answer is letter C. So meron bang protest dyan? Okay, let's proceed. Number 6. Hala. Okay, number 6. You inform your client in the 4 Ps that their assistance will be decreased. Your client threatens you to kill the next time he receives his cash assistance. You would. What would be your answer? Ano yung answer niyo po? Letter A. Letter A. Maria Criselda. Letter A. Maya. Letter A. Okay. Seems like puro letter A. Sige, tingnan natin. You inform your client in the 4Ps. So, pag sinasabi natin 4Ps, syempre may basis yan. May basis yan. Bakit kaya natanggalan? Siguro, di ba, may conditionalities. No? Alam natin yan. Dito, hindi lang ina-analyze natin yung situation. Kasama sa ating analysis, kinakailangan alam natin what is 4Ps. No. Sa 4Ps kasi, di ba may conditionalities. Makaka-receive ka lang ng cash kapag ito, A, na kailangan more than how many percent of school days present yung bata sa school. If I'm not mistaken, tama yung pagkakaalala ko, 80%. I don't know. I'm not sure of that. Kasi medyo matagal-tagal na rin. Okay. Kung tama yung pagkakaalala. So, may certain conditionalities. Kapag buntis, kinakailangan may attendance ka doon sa health center. Yung meron ding attendance dapat sa family development session. Yun yung mga conditionalities na before ka maka-receive ng cash. Siguro, no? You would assume. Kasi, paano ka madidecreasean ng assistance kapag kumpleto naman yung requirement? We would assume na meron pagkukulang si kliyente as a member of 4Ps. So, kaya you inform the client. But your client threatens you. What would be your appropriate action? Letter D is obviously wrong. It's not letter D. Discontinue assistance because of his threats. Hindi naman naka-specify what kind of threat. No? Kasi kung ma-specify siya what kind of threat, for example, during the confrontation, may dala-dala siyang baril or meron siyang kutsilyo. There would be somehow, based from your assessment, based from that situation, meron siyang access to that kind of opportunity na pwede kang patayin and andun yung motivation, then siguro you can reason out na the correct answer is letter C, no? If that would be the situation, pero hindi naman siya naka-specify doon sa situation. Hindi naman naka-specify what kind of threat. So letter C, pwede siyang action, pero it's not the best option. Letter B, matapang ka masyado, no? Tell him that you're not afraid of him and will be ready for him the next time you call armed with weapon of protection. Again, basic principle natin, do no harm. And the best option we had is letter A. Reason with him, pointing out the case of your action. Anong basis ng pwede nating masabi na letter A yung ating answer? It's because it is aligned with the principle of acceptance. No? Accepting the client who he is and where he is at the moment. Siguro nasabi niya yon, it's because mataas yung expectation niya na ma-receive niya yung cash buo. Siguro nasabi niya yon. So that is the essence of principle of acceptance. Tingnan natin, ano bang pinagmulan ng kanyang threat? Reason out with our client. So that's the option we have. Letter A. Pero in reality, again, if we try to answer, we try to analyze, dapat naka-base talaga doon sa body of principles kasi nagtitake tayo ng exam. Pero if in reality, tapos based from that, for example, nasa malayong bukid, tapos maraming mga counterinsurgents forces like NPA, tapos member siya na pag-alaman mo na mayroon siyang connection doon sa kabilang side, what would be your action then? Nakadepende din sa situation, but it is not given naman, so stick tayo doon we will answer that type of situation by the book, by the principle, and by our knowledge. So the best option, it's letter A. Okay? Kung magtataka kayo, mag-i-end siya kasi naka-set siya ng 40 minutes lang, baka mag-end siya. Okay? Huwag lang kayong mag-worry. Pwede naman kayong mag-join ulit. Okay. Number 7. The best of the following reasons for which a public assistance agency should not insist on certain standards of cleanliness as a factor in eligibility to receive public assistance is that it is generally acknowledged that. What is your answer? A. 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 Okay. A. Majority of the group said it is letter A. Bakit letter A? Of course, kabaliktaran ng letter A, pinaka-extreme niyan, is letter B. Standards of cleanliness vary so much among people as to make one standard practicable. Of course, it is impractical kasi majority of our clientele here in the country, pinakaugat talaga ng problema is kahirapan. And along with that kahirapan, lahi man po ng iba naman po din yung along with that poverty, it will reflect on somehow at some point the cleanliness. Hindi natin yan maiiwasan, and that standard is unethical kapag sinasabi natin hindi ka pwedeng maka-avail ng public assistance kasi mabaho ka, kasi masyadong burara itong pamilyang ito. No, it is impractical and it is a violation of our ethics and principle. So letter B is wrong answer. Letter C, a little dirt has never hurt anymore. Tama naman po. But the best option is letter A. People have the right to decide how they will live. Karapatan nila yon. Siguro sa social worker dito, hindi sang-ayon yung personal standard niya. Siguro na ang upbringing ng kanyang family, is kinakailangan malinis ka sa katawan mo, kinakailangan malinis ka sa pamumuhay mo. And hindi match yung standard niya doon sa pamumuhay o lifestyle ng kanyang kliyente. Pwede niyang ma-impose yun. But in our profession, kung yun yung pananaw ni social worker, yung action niya is unethical. No? Kasi hindi na sangayon sa principle. So the best option is letter A. Letter D, it would take too much of the eligibility specialist time to maintain a constant check on this factor. Masyado siyang malayo, and it should not be a criterion para maka-avail ka ng public assistance. Okay? Due to the fact, ano yung nagiging basis nyo? Sige daw. Tama yung answer na letter D. Pero ano yung nagiging basis nyo in answering letter D? Aside from it is obvious kasi A, B, and C is masyadong malayo doon sa tinatanong. So, ano yung nagiging basis nyo? Sige daw. Ay, wait lang. Wala. Yan. Ano yung nagiging basis nyo? Sige. Clear po, the professional authority. Yan, tama si Miss Julie. As you can still remember, nung sa ating discussion ni Ernest Greenwood, anong pinagkaiba na masasabi natin that we are a professional as compared sa occupation? Bakit kinakailangan ng license? Ano yung distinctive quality ng isang professional? Meron tayong 5. No? Isa doon yung professional authority. Yung professional authority natin is nanggaling, no? Born out from our education. No? Meron tayong certain authority, it's because nakapagtapos tayo ng BS Social Work. Pinag-aralan natin yung problema ng kliyente, mga possible problem. Pinag-aralan natin yung human behavior. Pinag-aralan natin yung different programs in possible intervention. Thereby, we are recognized through Republic Act 4373, binibigyan tayo ng kapangyarihan na mag-intervene. Makukuha mo lang yung authority na yan kapag nakapagtapos ka ng BS Social Work. Yan yung ibig sabihin sinasabi ni Ernest Greenwood na professional authority is born out from education. And that authority is inherent in social work, and we should be aware of potential uses and abuses. So how can we check if may potential abuses and uses? Based na siya doon sa Code of Ethics. Kaya existing yung Code of Ethics natin para i-check if may possible abuses of that authority given by the state or given by the community. So yun. Okay. Very good, Miss Julie. Number 9. You have been hired as a social work case manager for an urban-based agency. Your mission is to assess the needs of the client's family, and to arrange for, coordinate, monitor, evaluate, and advocate for a package of multiple services to meet the specific client's complex needs. Social work case management is distinct from other forms of case management because it addresses all of the following except. Ano yung answer niyo dito? Pamela Ann, letter B. Julie, letter B. Oppo user, letter B. iPhone user, letter B. B. Mary Hyacinth, letter B. Isabella, letter C. Okay, wala na? Sige. Ang tinatanong is except. Remember, ang context, ang nakalagay kasi dito, you are a social case manager. But your work, you need to assess the client's family, meso level, no? And arrange for, coordinate, monitor, evaluate, and advocate a package of multiple services to meet specific client complex needs. So based from that sentence, we can analyze that the social case manager practices generalist orientation. Tama po ba? Merong multifaceted interventions at a multiple level. So generalist, no? Social work case manager, pero yung practice niya is towards generalist orientation. Pero ang tinatanong is exempt. So, saan ba dito yung hindi kasali doon sa konsepto ng generalist orientation o generalist social worker? Letter A is kasali siya. Diba? We try to look at the client as a biopsychosocial spiritual that engages in a multiple system, social system, from micro, meso, macro, exo, chrono. Meron pang exosystem, chronosystem. If you can still remember your systems theory. Letter C, interventions occurs both client micro and system macro. Tama siya, no? Kasali siya sa generalist orientation. Letter D, the need for the social worker to develop and maintain a therapeutic relationship with client. Possible siya in a micro level. Letter B, yung tamang sagot, because the need for the client to accept the service provided because they are identified as necessary by the social work case manager, it is not. Hindi siya distinct form, it's because pwede din siyang gamitin. Pwede din siyang gamitin doon at the group level, group work, community organizing. So the best option we have is letter B. Hindi siya kasali doon sa nature. No? We can say that it is a unique characteristic of case management in generalist orientation. Sige, may protest ba dyan? I think wala na kasi letter B yung majority na answer. Number 10. As a new clinical social worker, you find yourself being told by supervisor you need to be more confrontational. This seems at odds with the social work mission until your supervisor explained the primary purpose of confrontation is to. What is your answer? C, B, C, Julie, letter C, Polly, letter B. How about the others? Meron tayong sorry. Ano ba to? Ay, nako. Hindi ko makita yung mga participants. Meron tayong 19 participants. Ano na di-defeat yung purpose natin. Participate. Wala namang magja-judge. Okay. Okay. What's the purpose of confrontation? The purpose of confrontation is to ensure or to make the client aware of the inconsistencies. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng inconsistencies? Yung inconsistencies na tinutukoy dito, ito yung relationship between the verbal and saka non-verbal actions. For example, sinabi ng kliyente, you engage with your client in a small talk para maka-establish ka ng rapport. Then after that question, sinabi mo, kumusta ka naman? Masyadong malayo yung biyahe mo, napunta ka dito sa center, etc., etc. Sabi niya, okay lang. Yung verbal na way of, yung communication niya, yung articulate na word is okay lang. Masyadong broad yan. Sabi niya, okay lang man sa bahay, etc., etc. But, napansin mo sa kanyang non-verbal or mga gesture niya na masyadong lower yung kanyang shoulder, yung mga mata niya is para bang nangungusap na hindi siya okay. At the way niya pagkasabi, yung the way niya pagkasabi is yung tono niya is hindi okay. That's the time you confront the client. Kasi hindi talaga siya okay. So that's the purpose of confrontation. Letter B, help a client change her view of the problem. That is manipulation. At some degree, at extreme degree. Pero kung sinasabi lang natin na help the client change her view of the problem, possible kasi siya doon sa bargaining na tinatawag natin. Possible during crisis situation, sabi niya, wala na talagang pag-asa. Magpapakamatay na ako. That's the time na we can help the client during crisis situation change how they view their problem. Demonstrate accurate understanding. Hindi siya pwede. Letter D, help the client identify alternatives to present behavior. Not unless if it is a child, because kung bata naman pag-uusapan, normal na inconsistent yung information kasi hindi pa ganoon hasa yung kanyang linguistic competence. Okay? So, meron bang katanungan? Okay. Let's proceed to number 11. This model in casework emphasizes PIE or Person in Environment and Systems Theory as conceptual basis of intervention. Obviously, your answer should be, ano yung answer natin? Okay. Miss Julie said that, mali po ako dito, though, okay, letter B. Basahin ko muna itong kay Miss Julie. Sabi niya, mali po ako dito, though naaalala ko talaga yung sabi ni Sir Kenji, generalist approach ay based sa systems theory at ecological perspective. However, I get confused kasi I thought magkaiba ang approach sa model. I thought generalist is not a model since di ko rin po siya included the models as stated in TLM. But then again, I learned. Okay. May pinagkaiba po yung kasi yung model ata na tinutukoy nyo is yung model like behaviorist, psychosocial model, task-centered model. Ang model na tinatawag, ang model na ni-refer ni Talmeli doon sa chapter 7 niya na book, is yun yung may specific problem based from your human behavior and social environment theory understanding of that problem. Like for example, ang problema niya is more on psychological. Mababang self-esteem, tsaka na-acquire niya yung medyo may past experience of sexual abuse. So based from that nature of the problem, ang mas appropriate na model na tinutukoy niya, ano ba yung model? No? Ang model is yun yung mukha. No? What would be the basis of your intervention is based from the model. Kasi lahat ng actions ni social worker, interventions, strategies, and techniques, naka-base siya doon sa model na pwede mong gamitin. If that would be the case, sexually abuse, ang nature ng kanyang problema, appropriate model for that is psychosocial model. If you're working with individual, but in group, remedial model. No? So, kung psychosocial model tsaka remedial model yung gagamitin mo if you try to integrate that individual to the group, what would be your actions? Ano bang sabi ni psychosocial model? Ano bang sabi ni remedial model? Dapat yung magiging action mo is nakafocus doon. So ang magiging actions mo, mga interventions, possible counseling. Possible na pwede mong magkaroon ng family dialogue. Possible na magkaroon ng psychoeducational or psychosocial session within the pwede mo siyang ipa-join sa ibang grupo na the same ng kanyang situation. So psychoeducational, pwede ding pwede mong turuan yung bata what would be the mga bahagi ng katawan na pwedeng i-touch tsaka hindi pwedeng i-touch. Yun, psychoeducational yun. Ano mong basehan ng action mo? Because it is based from a certain model na kinokopya mo. Ang model na tinatanong dito is kasi meron ding model, no? Meron ding model doon sa social work practice. Yung model na tinutukoy sa Orange Book, yun yung model during your intervention, no? During your helping relationship, no? What type of modality ang gagamitin mo sa problema nito. Yung model na tinatanong dito is yung model of social work practice. Kasi may iba't ibang model. Meron tayong generalist, meron tayong specialized area. Ito, mga specialized area, mga specialists, yun yung sa field ng mga welfare state, like United States. Kasi ang mga problema nila doon is more specific, masyadong specific, like mental health, child abuse, child protection ka na field. So yun yung ibig sabihin, no? Sige. I hope na clear po. So the correct answer here, of course, if you try to analyze, bakit nasali itong question na ito? Hindi pa naman namin na-discuss yung behavioral, psychosocial. So obviously, if present ka doon sa ating discussion, hindi pa siya na-discuss, so hindi mo siya i-answer. Yun yung how we analyze. But beyond that, kung alam natin yung generalist, no, naka-base ang generalist doon sa, tama yun, systems theory at saka ecological perspective. The micro, meso, macro. Kasi multifaceted yung problema. Di ba? Sa Pilipinas, multifaceted. May iba't ibang mukha. If we try to look at sa individual level, ano yung problema? For example, sexual abuse. Bakit nag-perpetuate yung sexual abuse within the family? At the meso level, at the neighborhood level, at the family level, ano ba problema? Si Papa, nagbebenta ng droga. Si Mama, at some point, na-traffic yung sariling anak. Nagkainuman, merong drug session sa kanilang pamamahay, possible through the influence of drug. Tapos, existing pala siya within the community at the macro level, existing pala siya ng problema. So what would be our intervention as a generalist? Hindi lang din nakafocus doon sa individual. Possible ang action natin is, as a case manager, pwede kang magbigay ng intervention doon sa biktima. Pwede ka ring magbigay ng intervention doon sa perpetrator. For example, yung papa niya yung perpetrator. Pwede ka rin magkaroon ng intervention doon sa neighborhood, community organizing sa macro level by tapping other resources and agencies na merong kakayahan na mag-conduct ng symposium, magbigay ng awareness, mag-educate ng mga bata through referral. So intervention mo pa rin yun. But ang resources is through other channel. So yun yung generalist, no? Yun yung action natin as a social worker. Okay, I hope na klaro yan. Okay, number 12. Casework as one of the model in micro social work practice deals directly with individuals who are needing of help. The following can be considered as the nature of work in this model, except for one. What is your answer? Sige. D. Letter D. Letter D. Letter D. Okay. I think lahat ay answer is letter D. Bakit letter D? Sige daw. Bakit letter G? Yan. Okay. Very good. Na-point out ni Miss Julie tsaka Miss Jorla Bianca because hindi siya casework. It is group work. Group work po siya. No? Through purposeful group experiences, through purposeful social interaction that is happening within the group, that is where intervention occurs. Group experience becomes the medium to change the individual situation. Group work yan. A, B, and C are all part of casework. A relationship arises out of shared and emotionally charged situation. That is why it needs self-awareness as a principle. Hindi talaga maiwasan during one-on-one, lalo na yung mga long-term, therapeutic in nature na type of relationship. For example, you are working in a rehabilitation center. Long-term yan. So hindi maiwasan that magkakaroon ng emotionally charged na mga situation. So that needs for self-awareness na hindi natin matapakan yung professional boundary ng relationship. B, casework may have several therapeutic values. That is correct. Therapeutic in a sense that you point out the problem, and after pointing out the problem, you work on that problem, and you reframe how the client viewed that problem, then you provide life skills para in the near future, kung meron pang problem na mag-arise, pwede na siyang ma-solve niya on his own. Letter C, relationship contains element of acceptance, creation, support, and stimulation. Okay, correct din ito. Ang basis ko nito is yung Leonora de Guzman na book, yung casework. Kung meron kayong kopya, much better. Sige, walang mag-protest. Let's proceed to number 13. This refers to a concerted and deliberate effort of people involved in a social movement to bring about fundamental change in an existing society. What is your answer? B, social action, social action, social action. Okay. So lahat is letter B, social action. That is correct. Pag sinasabi natin social action, it is one of the modalities in social movement. Pag sinasabi natin social movement, nabuo yung social movement, it is a deliberate effort, meaning it is a conscious and rational effort to change what is considered oppressing and alienating system. So pag sinasabi natin alienating and oppressing system, that calls for a collective effort through social movement. Social movement, design ang social movement to change or to resist a change. Like what happened now in the United States, no? The Black Lives Matter movement. It also happening in Europe. Nag-start lang siya nung ma-film, no? If you're familiar with the trending now in the Facebook. Simula lang siya. So, yun, it is a form of social action, no? Social protest. And there are multiple ways to demonstrate social action. Pwedeng mag-appeal through writing, no? Magsulat ka sa isang management, social action. Through group effort. Pwede din siyang leaflet, pwede din siya in a form of social protest, like yung pagrarally, no? Or ang political correct term ng pagrarally is yung street parliamentary. Yan, that is an additional vocabulary kasi at that time sa akin na batch, lumabas kasi yan, no? Walang ibang obviously yung answer, yung question is pointing out the concept of social protest or rally, pero walang choices na social protest or rally na word. And ang choices lang is yung meron doon nakalagay na street parliamentary. Syempre hindi ko alam yon, but I mean at kung ako hindi ko napanood yung ano ba yan? Yung sa TV5 na show na History noon, Chismis noon, History ngayon. Kung hindi ko napanood yon, hindi ko malalaman kung anong ibig sabihin ng street parliamentary. So yun, ang street parliamentary is referring to rally or social protest. So it is important for us, hindi lang natin ibabox yung ating study based sa libro. Pwede din tayong manood ng videos, na related doon sa social work, no? May kinalaman doon sa social issues. Okay, may nag-raise ata ng hand. Sino ba 'yon? Hindi ko na namalayan. Ah, yes, you are recognized. Hello? You are recognized. Sino ba 'yon? Or pwede mo lang i-chat. Okay. Sige. So, social action yan. Julie raised hand. Oh, yes, Miss Julie. What's your concern or clarification? Mm-hmm. Sige, let's proceed while waiting for your, for a specific concern. Number 14. It promotes social inclusion of the poor and vulnerable by empowering people, building cohesive and resilient societies, and making institutions accessible and accountable to citizens. What is your answer here? Social development. I answered A because of the word empowering people. Okay. Nice observation, Miss Celine. Sige. How about the others? Helen Landis, letter B. Minerva, letter B. Okay, how about the 18 participants? Bakit taglilima lang yung laging nag-answer? Sige. The correct answer here is social development. Ang community, I would just like to clarify. Lahat ng methodologies, casework, group work, CO, social action, social research, family therapy, brokerage, social pedagogy, conscientization, social development, social administration, supervision, social research, lahat ng yun is nakafocus sa empowerment, no? Regardless of your methodology, as long as social work. Diba po ang definition ng social work by the International Federation of Social Work and International Association Schools of Social Work. Ang bagong definition ng social work is a practice-based and academic discipline that promotes social change and development, social cohesion, empowerment, and liberation for all people. As long as ikaw ay social work, regardless of your methodology, as long as ikaw social work, then the aim is social change and development, social cohesion, empowerment, and liberation for all people. No. So, yun po. Miss Julie, doon naman po sa nabas sa accountable to citizen, kaya social development po, sagot ko. Okay? Nice observation. Nice picking of keywords. Stephanie, nakalimut ko ang answer ko dito. Maria, sir, di po ako makasabay sa pag-answer kasi every time sumasagot ako, nag-freeze yung presentation nyo pagbalik ko. Okay? Sige. So, I hope, klaro po, social development, social inclusion, vulnerable. Anyway, madidiscuss itong social development doon sa, ang specific na discussion doon sa 4Ps kasi, sa DSWD programs kasi we will discuss social protection, anong pinagkaiba ng social development, sa social safety net, mga ganyan. Especially sa social welfare policies, programs, services. So, again, this is a simple definition. Okay, number 15. The process of raising people's critical awareness of reality. What's your answer here? Conscientization. Minerva. How about the others? Letter C. Maxi, letter C. Ma'am Celine, letter C. Gialine, letter C. Gladys, letter C. Correct answer is letter C, conscientization. This is coming from the work of Paulo Freire, if you can still remember, liberating education. From the Spanish word concientizar. That means to say, being aware of what is happening around. By using the language, kasi ang panahon ni Paulo Freire, that's the time, that's the time na ang Latin America was subject for economic destabilization because of their government system na masyadong leaning doon sa left, no? Masyadong progressive or komunista, no? Komunista at the time. And the Northern America or the United States and the other Western country trying to oppress the Latin America through introduction of popular education. Pero sabi ni Paulo Freire, no, it is not. The true meaning of education, dapat maging aware, maximize natin yung capacity. So, process no, educating the normal people. Educating, it goes beyond the four corners of the classroom. Yun yung nature ng conscientization. Ang Paulo Freire is pedagogy, no? Kasi may tanong si Ma'am Julie. Paulo Freire, siya po ba ang proponent ng pedagogy o andragogy? Pedagogy po, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Specific, yun yung book niya, Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Yung andragogy naman is yun yung adult education. Yan yung kang Knowles, Knowles, Malcolm Knowles. Yun yung kay Malcolm Knowles. Andragogy. Iba naman yun. This is the form of education na contextualize adult learning. Kasi ang adult learning, unlike sa atin, no? Unlike sa atin na sa young education, masyadong by the book, pero yung adult education naman, yung andragogy na tinatawag nila, dapat naka tailored made yung presentation na re-response, no? Kasi hindi nagle-learn yung adult kapag hindi naka-align doon sa kanilang interest, hindi naka-align sa kanilang daily experience. So yun yung andragogy. Social pedagogy naman, it is a form of conscientization, kaso lang mas maliit, no? Kaso lang mas maliit. Sa meso level. Yun yung social pedagogy. Participatory development, it is a form of development that arises out from 1970s, spearheaded by NGOs saying that the blueprint approach or yung pre-plan, yung top-down is hindi effective. Ang kinakailangan daw na type of development is nanggaling sa grassroots. Ang pag-uorganisa mula sa tao para sa tao. Yun yung participatory development. Empowerment, no, yun yung purpose ng isa sa mga purpose ng social work. So the correct answer is conscientization. Okay, may katanungan pa ba? Sige, let's proceed. Number 16. It is the practice of helping people deal with mental, social, and emotional conditions by speaking with them and suggesting methods by which they may increase their chances of overcoming challenges and living a normal life. What's your answer? B, clinical model. So the best answer is clinical model. Ang clinical model or psychotherapy, focus siya doon sa mental aspect and even psycho-emotional and psychosocial aspect or conditions. Pag ganun yung nature of the problem, automatically, clinical model yung method, no? Or yung ating pwedeng gamiting pwede natin gamiting action or guide. Casework, it is a generic siya na term. Hindi lang nakabase, although pwede siyang gamitin, no? Pwede siyang gamitin ang casework doon sa mental and social emotional conditions, but kasali mas broad siya kasi it involves resources, lack of resources, deprivation of needs, pwede siyang ma-fulfill through casework. Anti-oppressive practice naman if ang individual is the oppressed, no? For example, hindi nabigyan ng statutory benefit. Since hindi nabigyan ng statutory benefit, pwede siyang gamitin, no? In working with that individual, anti-oppressive practice. Case management, on the other hand, you are the overseer of the helping process. You refer to other person, for example, ang problema sexually abuse, kinakailangan ng spiritual intervention. Since you don't have the capacity, case manager ka, you will refer that to a pastor, for example, if need, yan, based assessment. Okay, yun. So the correct answer is letter B, clinical model. 17. It asks what a human is in the context of society and how relationship between individuals and society should be organized from the point of view of education. What's your answer here? Okay. So, letter B. Okay, lahat ng answer is letter B. The correct answer here is letter B. It's social pedagogy. Lahat ng relationship should based on organized in the point of education. That is social pedagogy happening in the meso level. Na-explain na naman natin yung education, no? I mean conscientization and pedagogy. So no need to explain. Na-explain na kanina. Number 18. In its various form, it addresses the multiple, complex transaction between people and environments. Its mission is to enable all people to develop their full potential, enrich their lives, and prevent dysfunction. What is your answer? Yan. Okay, the correct answer here is letter A. Of course, naka-bold yung answer, no? Hindi ko na-edit. Anyway, so the correct answer is letter A. In its various form, meaning ang tinutukoy na form is what are the methods used? We address multiple complex transactions between people and the environment. That is the nature, that is the central focus of social work, the social functioning, that's the transaction between the individual and the environment. Enable people to develop their full potential, that is developmental goal. Enrich their lives, that is somehow developmental / remedial function or remedial goal, and preventive function of social work. So correct answer, social work. Social welfare, it is the organized system, no? Organized system to attain satisfying standard of life and health. Makikita natin yung mga definition social welfare doon sa ating orange book. Social agency, that is the institution whereby social welfare exists, used by, again, ang social agency can be a government or public. Pag sinasabi natin public, usually nakakategorize ang social organization based sa kanyang funding. Pag ang galing ang fund sa taxes, that means to say that organization is a public organization. Meron tayong two types of NGOs, no? Non-government, the profit-oriented at saka non-profit-oriented. Yung profit-oriented, yun yung nagbebenta. For example, clinic, dental clinic, social welfare siya. Kasi ang literal na translation ng welfare, ano yung nakakabuti sa humanity or sa people. So, ang clinic, although ang clinic kasi, although sa dental siya, more on sa physical aspect, makukonsider din siyang social welfare kasi health siya. But ang dental clinic, ang type of, for example, my office or my institution, consider siya na profit-oriented na non-government organization kasi ang galing ng fund is sa private individual. Nagpatayo siya ng sariling clinic, NGO siya, pero profit-oriented. Iba din yung non-profit-oriented. Usually, mga NGOs like Boys Town, CRIB, the UNICEF, nanggaling ang pondo sa charity. Nanggaling ang pondo sa mga philanthropists. Yan. NGO siya, pero non-profit oriented. Meron din tayong form of social agency. Yun yung mutual aid, or mutual benefit. Makukuha natin yan sa mga type of social agency, yung mga paluwagan, that is considered social agency. You join that group because may mutual benefit. No? Nagbibigay ka ng iyong pondo, in return, may nakukuha ka. Social agency din siya. And family, no? Kinship. It is a form of social agency because it promotes social welfare. So yun. Social functioning, yun yung the focus, the focus of social work based from the old definition. It is man's adjustment to the environment demand. A person in his life situation complex, according kay Gordon. Okay? Number 19. It promotes social change, problem solving in human relationships, and empowerment and liberation of people to enhance well-being. What is your answer? Okay. So the correct answer, obviously, it's letter A. Itong definition na ito yung, if I'm not mistaken, ito yung before the 2014. I think 2007 na international definition. Problem solving in human relationship. Okay. And social work. No, it promotes social change, problem solving in human relationship, empowerment, liberation of people, and to enhance well-being. Ang
It seeks to enhance the social functioning of individuals, singly and in groups, by activities upon their social relationships which constitute the interaction between man and his environment. Letter D, obviously it's not the answer because social functioning cannot enhance social functioning itself. Because social functioning, that is the central purpose of social work. And social agency, it is also not the answer because social agency is referring to the resources organized by an institution. Again, it is not enough that through resources. I mean, it is not enough that if we have resources automatically there can be a well social functioning. Again, it should be utilized. But the question here is, who is utilizing that resources to be converted into the well-being of the clients? Now, social welfare, on the other hand, is not also the answer because social welfare, it includes laws, programs and services, health, security, all of the necessary and essentials na may kinalaman doon sa person. And even police officer can be a social welfare officer, doctor, even anthropologists and sociologists, their researches generate new knowledge, and by that generation of new knowledge, we better understand the complexity of human behavior. So it is not social welfare. Obviously, the answer is social work. Social work, basis of this question is from Republic Act 4373 that states that social work is a profession primarily concerned is yung social service activities that strengthen basic mutual relationship, and these mutual relationships are constitute between man and his environment. So that is the answer, letter A. Punta tayo doon sa 21. Programs for counseling, therapy, and rehabilitation, programs for providing access of information and advice, institutional services, child protective services, and programs for the treatment of deviants are example of. There are three categories based from the Orange Book. There are three major categories or typology of social welfare. These are the public assistance, social security, and personal social services. So which of these mentioned services, saan siya nakapaloob na konsepto? Social agency, it is not included. Again, ang social agency is a form of entities or even institutions or individuals or groups that has the resources needed for the problem. Public assistance is in a form of material and non-material non-material and non-material provision by the government. Social security is the measures, no, or social security is are the measures that if there is a sudden abrupt, or I mean there is a sudden change, there is a safety net for that individual. Examples yan yung mga SSS, PhilHealth, um, Yun yun, pag may na-aksidente, automatically there's a safety net para hindi yung bagong situation hindi masyadong maapektuhan yung family at least. And personal social services ang answer, no? This is personal social services. Ito yung bumubuo ng different forms of activities na may kinalaman doon sa personal problem. Again, kasi hindi naman lahat nangangailangan ng counseling, therapy, or rehabilitation, and even advice or institutional services. Nakabase siya doon sa unique situation, then makategorize siya as personal social services. Number 22, the question is, the extreme poverty being experienced by Bicolanos caused by the past natural disasters, particularly Typhoon Raming, needs extensive rehabilitation work from the government and NGO. It is best to distribute resources to the victims indiscriminately since the victims suffered the same fate. As social workers, do you think this services delivery arrangement is right? Which statement is best applicable? So dito the question is this is somehow a situation of disaster response, no? Immediate response. Our word here that we should find or we should highlight in analyzing the whole situation is the resources of the victims indiscriminately. It is best to distribute resources to the victims indiscriminately. So, hindi na daw, kasi pag sinasabi nating discrimination of resources, based sa unique situation ng ating kliyente, bibigyan natin sila ng resources karampatan doon sa level of, for example, level of need, level of hardships, or level of poverty. Kasi sa isang pamayanan, pag hit niya ng disaster, not all individuals are vulnerable. Although there are some, for example, yung bahay nila nakatayo pa rin kasi concrete, and yung sa iba naman is barong-baro lang. So we can applicable pa rin yung individualization. Dito kasi ang sabi ng statement, it is best not to distribute individually. Yun yung indiscriminately. So what should be your answer? Here, sa higher order thinking skills na ito. These are the higher order thinking skills type of question where you need to evaluate the truthfulness, or is it factual, then what are the reason behind. So obviously our answer is no, because it is not aligned with the principle of individualization. So we are caught between letter C and letter D. Tingnan muna natin yung yes, no? Yes. Letter A, yes, since they are all experiencing the same situation. No, it is not. Regardless of the problem, there should be individualization. Kasi every person, according kang Malcolm knows na every man is like no other man. So my unique situation, thereby there should be a unique intervention. Letter B, yes, because resources and services are there and should be given at all. It is not, especially here in our country, that we have a limited resources over a multitude and multifaceted problem, and the government cannot cater all the necessary resources to provide for the people. That is why sa mga programs and services, dun talaga ang target natin yung mga marginalized, disadvantaged. It's because of the principle of equity. So it's between letter C and letter D. Letter D, no. This the question, the answer no is correct, but we should look at the reasoning behind. No, the scarcity of resources should be discriminate who should be given and who should not be given. But the best answer here is letter C. No, there is no need to look in the individuals. There is a need to look into individual situation of the victims for a more responsive delivery of services. Hindi rason kung sino ba dapat bigyan at sino dapat hindi bigyan. But the best option we have is there is a need for a more responsive delivery of services. Kasi paano naman yung availability ng programs and services if hindi responsive doon sa pangangailangan, no? Ang pangangailangan niya is pagkain, tubig, damit, but binigyan mo siya ng school supplies. So hindi responsive, no? Hindi magkatugma yung demand at saka supply. So, yun yung ibig sabihin ng responsiveness. No? Naka-base siya, dapat fit yung programs and services doon sa unique situation. Okay? So, the best answer is letter C. Number 23. The central purpose of social work is, okay, possible, but we are looking here at the best option. Letter A, it can be social work. The develop ability of people to participate in problem solving and decision making that is aligned with the principle of self-determination. Letter B, to provide material assistance. That is also correct, especially on the function of developmental function, the provision of assistance. Although there is a minimum problem, but there should be we should maximize it for the individual or groups or even communities. Letter C, to improve and change for better economic and social environment is also possible, but the best option is letter D, to enhance social functioning. Because social functioning, nakapaloob na dyan, problem solving, provision of material assistance in a form of public assistance. And letter C, to improve or change or better economic and social environment. Kasi kung A, B, and C, nakasentro lang dyan yung intervention in social work. So, hindi siya social work. Possible na auxiliary lang o para professionals. Okay, but this central focus is social functioning. It is much broad concept and kuha na lahat or capture na lahat ng interventions ni social work. Okay, number 24, examples of this function in social work are the establishment of daycare centers and supplemental feeding program. Identify what function is being described. Hindi siya pwedeng letter D, institutional function, kasi institutional function, kasabay yan ng residual, kasi hindi siya function. It is a perspective or how we should look at social welfare. We have two kasi, according to Orange Book. We have the residual function as well as institutional. But as I presented earlier, or those past weeks that I had presented it, we have an additional perspective. We have mutual aid. Example of that perspective in social welfare, the mutual aid, pasok ka ng paluwagan. The paluwagan system itself is a mutual aid because you enter into a group for the purpose that you will benefit. No? You give some of your money in that group, tapos in return, merong benefit. So the group itself benefit from your money and you yourself also benefit from it. Benefited from it. So, mutual, pang-tatlo yung mutual aid. Pwede rin yung neoliberal perspective on social welfare. Yung neoliberal perspective on social welfare, these are the strategies of the idealism of neoliberalism, whereby all the supposed to be public social welfare, ina-assume yan ng private people. For example, yung dental health or dental care. Supposedly, social welfare, ang primary duty bearers niyan is yung hospitals or even public clinic run by the government. The resources are being funded by the government. But neoliberal social welfare, look at it as a form of social welfare na napaprivatize niya due to the reason that it needs efficiency. So, yun. Restorative function, on the other hand, this refers to the function where there has already a disruption or disequilibrium. No? Meron ng problema na nangyari that calls for restoration of that function. Usually, nakikita natin yan sa mga rehabilitation centers kasi restorative, for example, CICL, restorative function kapag you are working with that individual. So, yung CICL, yung pananaw niya is parang nasa kalye. Yung pattern of behavior niya is nakasang-ayon doon sa upbringing niya. So, for example, ayaw sumunod sa authority, masyado mataas yung resistance, walang tiwala. So, pag expected from the center that from an involuntary client, yun yung may encounter natin. Then how can we restore? No? First process is yung curative function. No? Through counseling and other means, we are helping the individual. We're enabling him to point out what was wrong in his situation. No? Then later on, after pointing out what was wrong in the situation, what causes, or we should call it diagnosis, because we are pointing out the reason behind his situation or his problem. Then after that, curative process sa second phase naman, after makuha mo yung um, ugat ng kanyang problema and ma-workout niya yan sa kanyang sarili, then later on, yun na yung rehabilitative function, yung rehabilitative process. No? Nakuha mo yung negative aspect sa kanya, then nagdagan mo siya ng mga bagong pattern of behavior, mga normative behavior na katanggap-tanggap later on, after integrating or before integrating into the community. You're ensuring that there is life skills, nandun na yung katanggap-tanggap na behavior. So, ang curative, kumbaga, kukunin mo yung negative aspect sa kanyang situation. Yung rehabilitative, on the other hand, pupunuan mo, no? Pupunuan mo ng mga positive attitude, life skills, para later, pag integrate sa community, smooth na yung process. Preventive function, on the other hand, these are the functions performed by social worker if there is a potential areas of problem. No? Preventive is better than cure, sabi nga nila. So mas it is cost efficient yung preventive function as compared sa restorative. It's because hindi pa lang nagsimula yung problema or makikita mo lang possible areas na magkakaroon ng problem, intervene ka, so mas mura. Makaka-save makaka-save ka ng resources. Yung mga examples nun, yung mga premarital counseling, premarital sex na mga symposium, HIV/AIDS, mga forum or even symposium, and sa psychoeducational activities sa mga out-of-school youth. Those are examples, no? Mga vulnerable children na hindi sila, or mga tinatawag nating child at risk, na hindi sila ma-expose na todo-todo para maging CICS. So at an early stage, we provide intervention. So that is what we call preventive. So the correct answer here is developmental. Developmental, yun yung there is somehow lacking. If there is lacking, then we should give resources for them to maximize their potential and benefit. So usually may educational dimension din yung developmental. For example, daycare centers, mga single mom, no? Pinapaaral muna nila yung bata nila sa daycare center to be taken care of. At the same time, at that early stage, hinahasa na yung competencies ng bata. Pero at the same time, siya ay nag-earn din ng income, no? While nasa daycare center, so it is time for her to find resources to augment the income of his husband if meron. Pero kung single parent naman, so may time siya para maghanap ng income. So that is developmental in nature. 25. This social work function usually has an educational aspect. The aim is both to help individual make maximum use of his own potentials and capacities, as well as to further the effectiveness of the available social or community resources. So yan yung nasabi ko kanina, that it is developmental. It has educational because as an educator, you are enabling the individual how to maximize his potentials. At the same time, hindi lang yung potentials, pati na rin yung capacities niya. Maybe because hindi niya nakikita yung capacity niya, and we are enabling him, no, through different programs, like for example, mga NC2 trainings, mga livelihood trainings, life skills training, and these are developmental in nature. And at the same time, the developmental aspect is for further improvement or effectiveness of the available resources in the community. Sayang naman, pag sinasabi nating resources, the most and the best important asset or resources we have in social work is the client himself or the client system itself. Yun. So the correct answer here is letter A. Number 26. The social work function aimed at rehabilitating client whose functioning has been impaired by physical, mental, or social difficulties. It implies temporary breakdown of normal functioning. So the correct answer here is letter C, restorative. Na-mention since we have already discussed the developmental, preventive, and restorative, there's no need for us to look at it. Basta ang tatandaan natin when it comes to restorative, there is an impaired, mayroon natapos na yung problema and nag-breakdown na yung system, and that is why some individuals might kasi nga ang problema, the nature of the problem itself, na kailangan we would assume that this problem, there is always a person who needs help. There are always people who needs help that are beyond their coping capacity. That is why we exist. That is what we call restorative function. Nagkaroon na ng breakdown sa family, nagkaroon na ng breakdown even with the communities. And if there is a breakdown, we need to restore. We need to restore. Yun yung sa DRRM na building back better na principle nila. Okay, next number. It is the gratification that a person can get through helping others. This is somehow the highest form of need according to humanists. Pwede ka Maslow. The correct answer here is aesthetic, letter B. Value, this refers to what you cherish the most as a person. For example, if you value your friends over your time for study, if you value your family responsibility over your time for study, kasi ang value is always equated with time. The more you spend time, that means to say you value that person, that thing, or that abstract concept. For example, if you talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend much as compared to your studying, that means to say you value more your girlfriend or boyfriend as compared to your studying. If you value responsibility towards your family, and then you give time. But if you value your studying, it is always equated also with time. So you spend more time in reading, you spend more time in discussing it with your friends. So that is value. The problem is almost in the value aspect. That is why meron na tayong tinatawag na mga value-based social work interventions, no? Makikita natin yan. Basta always natin tatandaan, if we value a certain abstract concept or even a person or a thing, it is always equated with time. No, ano ba yung pinapahalagahan natin? That is value. Moral, on the other hand, this refers to the science of what is right and wrong. Moral also refers to the spirit, no? The spirit within the eagerness and motivation. If you try to look at the administrative dimension, yung esprit de corps. Principle, on the other hand, these are the guiding actions in dealing with or in dealing to. In dealing with the client system, no? or in engaging in social work practice. So it guides our action, the principle. So the best, the only correct answer here is aesthetic. No? These are the aesthetic is the gratification that we get from helping others. Number 28. Feeling needed and valued by others and companionships are example of. This is according to Larson, the 4 categories of needs aside from Maslow. Kay Maslow kasi masyadong advanced, no? Dito kay Larson, ito yung pinagmulan ng konsepto ng social functioning. So, anong answer natin dito? It should be letter B, emotional needs, no? Lahat ng tao ay nangangailangan ng being valued, pinapahalaga ng iba, and the sense of companionship, no? Kinakailangan may kasama ka because we are social being. Physical needs, these are the sense of security according to Larson, food, shelter, clothing. Positive self-concept needs, ito yung pangangailangan na tinitingnan natin yung ano ba tayo, no? Pwedeng pwedeng mabilong dito yung self-esteem needs, yung pangangailangan natin na we are always positive towards other. Yan. Personal fulfillment, on the other hand, ito yung mga pangangailangan like education. Kinakailangan aesthetic, no? Personal fulfillment din yun. Usually, na-fulfill ang mga pangangailangan nito through the resources. I mean, through the lucite of resources that can be found in the environment. That is why sa pangangailangan at saka sa resources available, dyan nakukuha natin yung konsepto ng social functioning. 29. All of the following are considered as the primary methods in social work practice, except for yan. Obviously, the correct answer here is letter B, administration and supervision. Pag sinasabi kasi nating primary methods, according to the old definition, yun yung social functioning pa na definition, ang primary methods are the methodologies we employ as a social work in dealing with our client face-to-face or direct, no? We're helping directly the client by providing a unique multitude of interventions. So casework, group work, and community organizing, obviously, you face with the client system. No? You enable them, you plan with them, you implement the plan with them, later you evaluate and you terminate. So basically, primary. Administration and supervision belongs to the secondary methodologies in social work because your supervisor and administrator of your agency that you belonged with, um, sila yung nagpapatakbo ng programa at saka serbisyo. Sila yung naghahanap ng resources. Sila yung nag-create ng programs and services. By creating programs and services, the administrator obviously helping your client indirectly through you. No? Pwede din supervisor. The supervisor is trying to capacitate, enable you, developing your competencies as a direct practitioner. So basically, the supervisor is helping the client indirectly through you, no, as a direct practitioner. So consider siya, pwede siyang makonsider na secondary or auxiliary methods because the person who are conducting this method is helping the client indirectly. Ano pa bang ibang secondary method that we can add? Yung social work research, pwede siya, no? By generating new knowledge, by understanding based on scientific methodology, or by evaluating the programs, we are helping. No? We are helping crafting a new policy. We are helping the agency to become more responsive in crafting the programs and services for their clienteles. And those are examples. No? And social action then, social action or social reform belongs to secondary or secondary or auxiliary methods. 30. It is a systematic collection of available evidence that can help us understand better the situation of individual, a group, an institution, or community toward enhancing the social functioning and quality of life. For this one, pag sinasabi nating social casework, these are we are only helping individuals and families. So, hindi siya pwede because it involves group and institution naman. Case recording, on the other hand, these are the methodologies that we used when there is a certain document to be produced as an evidence. Administration and supervision, this is the secondary method, yun yung na-mention natin kanina, the secondary method that you run a program and services or you are the overseer of the development of the direct practitioner. The correct answer here is social work research. No? Systematic collection. From that systematic collection, you analyze, you interpret, and you come up with a result in discussion. Para mas maintindihan natin, no? Mas maintindihan natin yung individual groups and institution and even communities towards enhancing social functioning. Because without research, there will be no methodologies. There will be no social work. Number 31. The process of bringing about and maintaining adjustment between social welfare and resource of social welfare needs within the geographic or specific field of service. Okay, this one, this refers to the methodologies. So among the methodologies that we use, which of these refers to the process of bringing about and maintaining adjustment in a geographic or specific field of service? For this one, the correct answer here is letter C, community organization. We are bringing change or adjustment in the community level, geographic area. Remember that in community organizing, we have two types of community. The geographic community, at the same time, yung functional community. Geographic community refers to the residents, no? The physical aspect of a community. No? Saan ba kayo nakatira? Sitio, purok, or barangay. Functional community, on the other hand, walang specific na place. No? Hindi necessary na physical yung contact nila ng client system with each other. Functional community may mean a virtual community in the internet, no? Group of, for example, social work tutorial group in the Facebook page. So we can refer to them as a community as long as they have a common purpose, as long as there is an interaction, as long as there is a characteristics that embodies a community, doesn't mako-consider natin siya as community. For example, LGBT community doesn't mean na isang barangay lang yan sila, no? Sporadic yung presence nila, that means to say everywhere, na nabubuo lang sila if may gathering. So mako-consider lang siya as community as long as there is the same characteristic, as long as there is the same goal, we can consider them as a community. And the size itself, no? Hindi naman natin masasabi the communities pwede na siyang limang person. It is not. Consider lang siya as a group. Bigger than more than 20 or more than 50, consider siya as community. Again, ang size, walang definite na number na masasabi. Kailan natin masasabi that it is a group and it is a community. Kasi may debate yan ng different authors and different literatures. 32. It is a method through which individual and group are helped by a social worker to relate themselves to people and experience growth opportunities in accordance with their needs and capacities. So, the correct answer here is group work. Through group experience, through opportunities provided in the group interaction, in the group itself, then through group interaction, there is a change. There is a change brought about by this interaction within the group or outside the group. So, kasi ang group work, ang aim niya is dalawa, two-pronged, two-goal, yung twofold goals yung the group work is trying to achieve. The social change impacted to the individual at saka yung sa grupo, no? The group itself. So this is group work. Kasi hindi naman siya casework, no? Obviously kasi individual lang possible that there is casework, but through group experience, through growth opportunities, so it is group work. 33. Socially recognized pattern of behaviors and activities expected from an individual occupying a certain position in a society. This is what we call social role. No? Social role are the set or the pattern of expected behavior out from your status. Example, your status is boyfriend or girlfriend, or as a mother, as a father. Yun yung status, no? Yan yung rank, the rank in a given society, in a society. The status, for example, boyfriend. Status is a boyfriend. What are the expected pattern of behavior? Obviously, you are expected to give TLC or tender love and care. Yan yun. Siyempre, pag may label, obviously, may in-expect ka. Pero kung walang label, then walang status, then there will be no role. Ang problema kasi we assume, kaya nasasaktan. Char. Anyway, so yun, for example, as a father, as a mother, that is a status. What are the set of expected behavior? Socially, no? It is a social construct kasi yung role. Given by the society, ito yung in-expect ng society. As a mother, you should tend to the needs and wants of your children. No? You should provide sense of security, you should provide food, you should provide this and that. So, kapag hindi mo yan na-fulfill, there can be a possibility na matanggalan ka ng authority. Matanggalan ka ng rights mo as a parent according to parents patrie na principle brought about by the American during the 1920s. No? It is, yung parents patrie kasi, ito yung principle behind the establishment of the rehabilitation centers, of the institutions that caters to the needs of the children who were neglected and abandoned. Kasi ang parents patrie, yung definition niya, the government should assume responsibilities towards a child, towards the best interest of the child, if the parents or the authority of their guardian cannot attend to their needs. So, in the lens of best interest of the child, the government is the secondary duty bearer when it comes to providing care, providing needs and wants of these children. So, yun yung social role, no? The expected pattern of behavior. Ethics naman, on the other hand, ito yung the science, the science behind determining what is morally good and morally wrong. Norms are the things that ought to do, no? If my social role na these are the expected pattern of behavior, kapag employee ka, ang role mo is makapasa ng deliverables, makakandak for example ng home visit para ma-validate yung data. Pero pag sinasabi nating norm, what is the standard, no? Sinabi kasing nagampanan ko naman yung social role na kapag home visit naman ako. Pero, what is the norm? What is the standard? Kinakailangan sa isang buwan, maka 5 home visit ka. Kaso, hindi mo yun na-reach na target. So, yung social role mo is not in satisfaction towards the standard, towards the norm. No? Oo nga, nakapag-deliver ka nga yung deliverables. But the standard of your behavior in relating towards your colleague in the office is not, it is not satisfactory, palagi lang may away, so hindi mo na-hit yung standard of behavior. That is the norm. Social functioning, ito yung focus in social work. 34. It is based on the problem-solving model from system or person-environment perspective. This model is applied with the unique qualities, values, ethics espoused by social work. So this is what we call generalist. No? We are looking at the PIE, person in environment. Pag person in environment, we are contextualizing the problem based from the environment as well as the capacities, the positive, the strengths, and weaknesses of our client. Kasi if you're trying to look at the problem solely on the perspective of the client, then hindi na natin consider yung environmental factor of the problem. Then, palagi na lang ulit kasi at the first place, hindi naman doon sa, ang personal inadequacies, okay naman. Wala namang inadequate doon sa person, but the problem is more systemic, no? Is more structural. Then nagkamali tayo sa intervention. Ang tawag doon ay generalist practice, no? We provide intervention at the micro, meso, and macro, even chrono and exo level. 35. The client system can mean any of the following, which of the statements best describe the organization. Okay. Letter A, organization consists related supports the conscious, unconscious, and mind of the body. No, it is not. This is the client, the individual client na system. So, ang tao ay kinocompose ng conscious mind, unconscious, and the mind and the body. Yan yung individual. Client as an individual. Letter C, organization is the families, committees, staff, clubs, and other smaller social work. So, hindi siya kasi this refers to group at the meso level. No? So, organization can be best described as letter B. It's a larger social system which comprised community, business organizations, welfare agencies, education institutions, religious associations, and the rest. Hindi siya pwedeng letter D kasi both A and C kasi mali siya. These are the micro, na belong siya sa micro and even meso level. So organization can be best described at the macro level through if you answer letter B. 36. A social situation is considered dysfunctional except. Ito. Ang tanong dito is, ang question is medyo tricky if hindi mo napapansin. No? Dysfunctional, ibig sabihin, negative ang connotation. Pero, it is being paired by the word except. So, negative na dysfunction, tsaka except, so we're looking at the positive. No? So, if you try to analyze the question, it should be, which of the following social situation is functional? Kasi positive na yung hinahanap natin. Kasi all of these are dysfunctional except. So we are looking at a positive. So the new question here is, a social situation is, which among the following social situation is functional? So the correct answer here is letter A, when it is harmless. No? The individual who belong to that social situation doesn't feel threatened. Yung sense of security is andon. No? For example, if mataas yung sense of security in the community, pwede silang nafe-feel nila na they belong to each other, they feel na walang manghaharas sa kanila, then that social situation is harmless. It is helpful, no? Letter B, when it is structurally and culturally inadequate or disorganized. So these are dysfunctional type of social situation. Structurally and culturally, for example, andun yung racism, andun yung structural oppression, andun yung women are being treated as second class, no? The patriarchal ideology, that is what we call structurally and culturally inadequate and disorganized na type of social situation. Letter C generates severe interpersonal role and value conflicts. No, it is not also, it is a dysfunctional. So it is not the answer. The correct answer here is letter A. Obviously, hindi pwedeng letter B, ay letter D kasi contradicting naman yun. No? 37. Social work intervention is always directed toward enhancing or coping the individual social functioning through any of the following ways except. Okay. So the correct answer here is letter B because of the word only. No? Careful with that. Masking isang word lang, it can lead to wrong answer. Obviously, if we try to look at social work, tatlong strategies ang dinideploy natin. Kasi tatlong ways, tatlong point of entry din na mapagsimula ng problema. First is personal inadequacies and the social situation dysfunction or social situation deficiencies. Personal inadequacies, ano bang problema sa tao? Physically incapacitated, walang sense of reality, lack of knowledge, pwede yung mapagmulan ng problema. On the other hand, if we try to look at environment, ano bang factors sa environment that contributes to the problem? Yun yung when it is culturally and socially inadequate, when it is yung previous question natin kanina. So yun. And it can be both. Nanggaling yung problema from individual and his environment. So ang strategies natin is directed towards individual, towards environment, and both. So tatlo. So it is not letter B because of the word only. Because if we try to consider the word only, we can look at it that's palagi na lang kasalanan ng individual, wala nang consideration doon sa context ng kanyang problema sa environment. So it is not letter B. 38. There are many causes of social functioning problems that can be categorized. Which of the following factors that suit to describe the personal inadequacies? So, saan dito yung personal inadequacies? Obviously, it's letter C. No, poor physical constitution. For example, wala siyang kamay or putol yung kanyang paa. Of course, may limitations yung activity. Nangangailangan most of the jobs kinakailangan natin ng kamay. So limited yung kanyang capacity to do as compared to a normal person. Yun yung poor physical constitution. Lack of resources, lack of opportunities, existence of resources which are beyond coping capacities of the people. Ito yung social functioning problem that comes from social situation. Okay. Last number, 39. Oftentimes, there is difference between what the client sees as a problem and what the worker sees. The definition of the problem must be based on. Okay. May tinatawag kasi tayong bargaining. No? Bargaining as a strategy in social work. Kasi, as you can remember, there are three types of problem. Presented problem or presenting problem, the working problem, and underlying problem. Yung presenting problem, ito yung, by its definition, according to Leonora de Guzman, presenting problem refers to what the clients feel that it is the most urgent problem. No? Usually, kapag walk-in yung kliyente, ano yung pinipresent niya, no? What the clients feel that is the most urgent, between life and death, tsaka ano yung nakikita niya, no? Based from the client's perception. So yun, that is the presenting problem. Underlying problem naman, these are the overall factor that contributes, the overall factor that permits the presenting problem. So basically, what is the cause? Yun yung underlying problem. Working problem naman, also, even if, as a social worker, even if you already address the presenting problem and underlying problem, there might be a problem that you will later on encounter along with the helping process. For example, problema ni nanay, namatayan, nangangailangan ng burial assistance, lumapit siya sa'yo sa, for example, CSWDO or even sa AX, sa DSWD, nangangailangan ng assistance para mailibing yung kanyang anak. But, ang underlying problem, namatay yung kanyang anak, it's because prevalent yung case ng violence, no? Or even the community, na merong uso pala doon yung peddling of drugs, kaya napatay. That is the underlying problem. And the emotions behind, the emotional aspect of the problem, kasali na rin doon. Working problem, later on, you see, based from your assessment, that si nanay pala is walang source of income. No, ngayon, kung mamamatay naman kung magkakaroon naman ng financial difficulties, which is a presenting problem, magkakaroon naman ng financial difficulties, patuloy pa rin hahanap ng pupunta pa rin sa'yo. So, walang empowerment doon. That is why we include working problem. So, one of our interventions, pag working problem, so we capacitate an individual. No? We give, we enable them to have these life skills. So, pinapa-attend, doon na papasok yung developmental function. No? Pa-attend natin siya ng mga in situ training para at least makapacitate or meron siyang new source of income. So, yun. Pero ang problema, kapag iba yung pananaw ni social worker sa problema, kasi ang pananaw ni social worker is always guided by the theory. No? It is wrong to assume that based lang sa inexperience mo, it's because, for example, marami ka nang nahandle na case na ganito, usually mag-a-assume na the same reason, no? The same, taga-barangay, kasi the same sila ng barangay, the same reason behind. No, it is not, because you are not following the principle of individualization. But rather, ang ating guide in understanding the problem is our theories from human behavior and social environment. Now ngayon, what if magkaiba? Ang pananaw mo, you are guided by the theory, si client naman, guided by his own experience. So dyan nalalabas yung bargaining, no? You compromise, no? You compromise. You deploy empathy, tapos, intindihin mo yung kliyente through the use of our theories and our principles. In that way, we can come up to a common ground. So, the correct answer is letter A. No? It is the nature of the problem itself. No? Hindi siya based sa theoretical understanding of the problem, hindi din siya based mostly doon sa what the clients perceive, but the nature of the problem itself.
Sige, number 39. Oftentimes, there is difference between what client sees as a problem and what the worker sees. The definition of the problem must be based on, ito, medyo conflicting ito. Medyo mahirap ito if you're trying to look at different references, like Telmali and Di Guzman. Okay? Ito, what's your answer for this number, for this question? Okay, letter A. Obviously, it's letter A kasi naka-bold. Sige. 39. Kapag hindi daw tugma yung pananaw ni kliyente, no, ang presenting problem niya, nakikita niya, kasi yung presenting problem, ang definition, what the clients feel that is the most urgent. No? Yung, kung hindi niya ma-fulfill ito, siguro mag-breakdown siya. Yun yung presenting problem. No? The client present his problem. Yun yung pananaw niya. Pero si worker, iba din yung pananaw ng kanyang pananaw sa problema. Kasi guided by the knowledge and by the theories under human behavior and social environment, may ibang interpretation si worker. So ngayon, anong mangyayari? Hindi tugma. Saan dapat nakabase ang definition of the problem? Letter B, the client sees and what appears relevant to the client. possible na limitation, possible na may limitations yung perspective ni kliyente. Okay? Possible na may, letter B is not the answer, no? Kasi kung pagbabasihan lang natin yung definition ng problem based sa how the client view his problem. Kasi let's look at the metaphor na while you are dancing at the ballroom, hindi mo siya nakikita ang ballroom in general. Nakikita siya doon sa balcony. You get what I mean? Kapag ang tao nasa balcony, kita niya yung ballroom. Kapag yung tao nasa ballroom tsaka may partner na sumasayaw, yung how he see the ballroom is based lang doon sa personal experience na nakikita niya sa kanyang partner. So, na-enjoy siya with the companion of his partner sa kasayawan niya. So, limited yung kanyang perspective doon lang sa kanya nakikita. While ikaw na social worker, possible na andun ka sa balcony na nakikita mo yung interconnectedness of the problem. So ngayon, ano ba ang dapat nating i-follow? Yung nakikita ni client in his own perspective, yun yung nafe-feel niya. Possible din kasi yung letter A, isang ayon siya sa self-determination. Tama po ba? Isang ayon siya sa self-determination. Kasi we can define the problem based sa felt need ng kliyente. But hindi siya nakalimit doon. Okay? Kung letter C naman, what the worker perceives and believes, hindi naman ikaw yung nakaka-experience. Kung letter D naman, theoretical definition of the problem is basically letter C din yan. Ibang mukha lang. Kasi yung what the workers believes and perceives is influenced by his theory. So ang definition of the problem should be based on the nature of the problem itself. Ano ba talaga? Anong source, anong ways bakit nag-proceed ang problema sa ganitong level? So, the nature of the problem itself. And madidiscuss yan during assessment. Kasi during assessment, there is a dual process of exchanging information. Ikaw, you will ask the client to clarify. Ikaw, may clarification ka sa kliyente para mas maintindihan mo siya. And sa kliyente, may ibibigay na bagong information. That is why one of the characteristic of assessment is no assessment is ever complete. It's always changing. It is a dynamic process. Kasi wala talagang masasabi na ito na yung final na problem niya. Kasi later on, at the first 3 sessions, hindi pa complete yung information. May withhold pa si kliyente na information because that is too sensitive and hindi pa ganun ka deep yung trust ni kliyente para sabihin sa iyo. That is the nature of assessment. It is dynamic. And no assessment is ever complete. 30. And by the way, yung definition of problem, it occurs in the assessment phase. That is why we discuss assessment. Number 40. A direct service worker in a community helps individuals or groups to express their needs, to clarify, identify their problems, and explore solutions, develop people's capacity to deal with all problems more effectively. The worker performing the role of, what's your answer? B po ang sagot ko dyan. A, enabler, broker. A, broker, enabler. B, enabler. Okay. Pag sinasabi nating broker, ibig sabihin, may kliyente ka, you connect that client to an existing resources outside your system. Tama yung word ni Miss Agilo. You link. For example, if walang resources sa yung agency, you link that client to the existing resources. In the community perhaps, in other organization perhaps, that is the broker, the role of the broker. Pero pag sinasabi nating enabler, you help the client system, individual group or community, to identify, let them identify, but you are just there to facilitate and help them to identify the problem, to clarify on how to proceed, and explore what are the possible ways. That is the enabler. And ang purpose ng enabling role is to empower. Okay? An advocate naman, you are representing your client in his behalf. An advocate. Community organizer, organize the communities for the communities to become self-reliant. Okay. Number 41. In the context of the Philippine setting, direct social work practice requires a social worker to be multi-purpose worker because, what's your answer here? Letter A, letter A, A. Okay. Lahat naman ito ay tama. No? Lahat ng options ay tama. Kung may letter E na option na all of the above, that is the correct answer. But the best option is letter A. We are generalists because social problems are multifaceted. Pwede mo maging point of entry yung individual problem towards the resolution of the groups at the meso level or at the community level ng mga problem. That is the nature. Bakit generalist orientation tayo dito? It's because problems are multifaceted. 42. The theory of social work practice can be divided into two basic categories, namely, what's your answer? Letter D, letter D, letter D, D. Okay, tama po yan. Assessment theory and intervention theory. Yan. Assessment theory, yun, kay Freud, personality theories, social environment theories, group processes, group structures, yun yung assessment theory. Sinasabi natin assessment, it helps us understand the nature of the problem, the nature of the situation. Oh yes, Miss Jumairan, you raised hand. What's your concern? Okay, yun. Assessment theory, it helps us understand, it helps us describe the situation in a theoretical dimension. Intervention theory naman, ito yung mga models and approaches. Existing siya doon during planning and implementation. Bakit theory siya? No? Bakit theory siya? It's because walang perfect na model. Kung generalist orientation, yung nature ng social work dito sa Pilipinas, ang tawag sa model nating ginagamit is eclectic model. No? Eclectic. We combine all the necessary models that is applicable to the situation and we rank them. That is the eclectic approach. Okay. Eclectic yung model na ginagamit natin dito sa Pilipinas. Kasi hindi lang task-centered, stick tayo sa task-centered. Pwede natin task-centered in combination with problem-solving model, psychosocial model, and remedial model. Anyway, we will discuss that later on sa inyong casework, group work, and CO. Okay. 43. Which perspective defines social work as that social welfare benefits and services should be supplied only when people fail to provide adequately in themselves and problem arise? What's your answer here? A. That's correct. It's residual. Based from the assumption, kapag hindi na kaya, that's the only time that the social work intervention is needed. Hala, what happened? Okay. Anong number na? Wait lang. Okay. So institutional naman, iba yon. Ang institutional, we see to it that there is a legitimate means of our intervention recognized by the law or recognized by an organization that the problem is existing. That the problem, there is a normal problem, thereby we provide normal intervention. And we can normalize, other term for institutionalized, we can normalize our intervention by passing a certain law. Example, ang 4Ps. No? Na institutional na ang 4Ps, ibig sabihin, legitimate way, legitimate means of government to intervene poverty in the form of 4Ps. Yun yung institutional social welfare. Developmental naman, existing itong type of social welfare doon sa mga welfare state. No? Doesn't mean merong problema. Kinakailangan lang merong kakulangan na kinakailangan i-maximize. No? Intervene further. Neoliberal social welfare naman, ito yung mga type of social welfare that before, it belongs to government. Ngayon, napaprivatize na siya for the purpose of economic gain. Example ng social welfare na neoliberal, yung mga privatized hospital, clinic, mga psychological evaluation ng mga private practitioners. Pwede yan. Pero sa Pilipinas, wala pa namang neoliberal practice ng social work. Okay? Although ma-associate natin siya sa mga CSR, no? Corporate Social Responsibility na type na work mo. For example, you're working with SM Foundation, GMA Foundation, mga big companies. Secondary setting siya, pero hindi sa ibig sabihin na neoliberal social welfare. Kasi in neoliberal social welfare, talagang yung social welfare function is being privatized. Okay. For economic gain. Number 44. Helping a girl who engages in prostitution for a living to change her ways through counseling relationship and effecting necessary changes in her home or environment conditions. This is what we call, yan, the correct answer is curative. Letter A. Yun yung sabi ko na changing the ways pattern of old behavior by pointing out through helping relationship. Saka yung rehabilitative function naman is, provider mo na siya ng bagong skills, ng bagong coping mechanism para pagbalik niya sa community, alam niya yung gagawin niya. Andun na yung tinatawag nating empowered client. 45. Social welfare programs has many categories. Which of the following that tackles social security? Si Lynn, restorative pong hinahanap ko ng sagot. Restorative. Restorative, this refers to the function. Pwede din siyang restorative. Siguro na answer mo is none of the above. Tama ba, Miss Celine? Pero ang restorative, ang question kasi is specific. Therefore, ang answer natin is specific. Sa restorative, ano bang specific? There are two specifics area. The curative and rehabilitative dimension. Since ang tanong is specific, ang sagot natin is yung curative na specific. Pero kung in a general sense naman yung pagkakatanong, dapat ang answer natin dito is restorative. Okay. Stephanie, dili ka madunggan. Arinig ba yung boses ko? Hello? Yes, sir. Arinig naman po, Ms. Stephanie, baka sa device niyo po yan. Okay? 45. Okay. 45. Social welfare programs has many categories. Which of the following that tackles social security? Letter C, Orange Book, page 4. That's correct. Letter A, what's letter A pala? It is personal social services. Letter B, supports that usually given by the government, that is public assistance. Letter C, it is social security. Okay, that's correct. Letter C. Nasa page 4 daw sa Orange Book. Yan. Number 46. Dorothy Martin runs support groups for adolescent clients. Her work reflects the role of... What's your answer here? Letter B, enabler. B. Okay, the correct answer here is enabler. When we say support group, example ng support group is Alcoholic Anonymous or AA. Meron din tayong Narcotics Anonymous. Meron din tayong mga support group even in church. But pag sinasabi natin support groups in adolescent class, this may refer to the adolescents who have difficulties. Pero may mga, di ba, as we all know, based on our theory, na pag adolescent, yung role identity versus confusion. Bibinata, may problema. Enabler yung tamang answer dito because you're trying to point out what is the problem. You're helping them. You're assessing them. You enable them to become empowered later on. Facilitator dito, possible siya na answer. But ang nature kasi ng grupo is a support group. They are there to support each other. ang role na pinoportray mo dito is enabler. Kasi yung support group naman, by itself, is a facilitating group itself. No? May life, ang
support
grupo.
groups for
Facilitate each
those
other, kaya nga support
employees.
group.
Support
Advocate naman, hindi naman siya pwede. Kasi wala namang agrabyado.
advocate.
Unless kung ang grupo is a form of group formed by there's circumstance na merong problema sa system, then that's the time that yung role mo is an advocate. You are representing the client on behalf of their interest. Hindi naman po pwedeng outreach. Outreach is a form of client. Outreach client, ito yung mga kliyente na pinupuntahan natin voluntarily, involuntary. Number, sana ba? 47. Carolee Goody links client with community-based services. Services the request. He represent the social work role of, ito, klaro. It's letter C. Yan. Broker. No? Nandun yung word na link. Link the client to existing resources. Resource management naman, usually pinoportray ito kapag andun ka sa macro level. No? Administrator ka ng isang program, administrator ka ng agency. Catalyst naman, yun yung sa professional level. You can still remember the notes, yung sa PDF, sa generalist, andun yun. 48. As a social worker at the Northside Family Agency, Jane coordinates a public education initiative on preventing child abuse. This activity represent ay. Anong answer niyo dito? C, macro level. Macro. Okay, the correct answer is meso. Hindi siya macro. Baka kasi ang pagkakaintindi nyo sa macro is automatic pag agency, organization is macro na. It is not. Meso, it also entails small organization. Dito, family agency. Then the Jane Coordinated Public Education Initiative on Preventing Child Abuse. May coordination between that agency to the public education initiative to prevent such abuse. So that work is at the meso level intervention. My reference for that is yung nabasa kong PDF. If you read that, then probably your answer is meso level. Hindi lang ang meso level, I would like to clarify, hindi lang ang meso level, nakalimit siya sa group. Even small groups, some of them belong to micro level. Nakadepende siya sa size. Indefinite naman yung size, depende pa rin sa nature. Kung indefinite yung size, nakadepende siya sa nature ng group. Okay. Yes, Julie, you're recognized. You raised your hand. Sir, meso yung answer ko sa drill, tapos mali. Ano, bakit?
Hello po. Macro po.
Macro. Bakit macro? Macro nasa drill. Macro po ang lumabas na tamang sagot. Okay. This will be a bonus point. This will be a bonus point for everyone. Kung macro yung lumabas na tamang sagot sa drill. Pero the correct answer should be meso level. Okay. 49. Last two. Andrea applies the ethic of justice to her practice of empowerment-based social worker. Which of the following is least characteristic of her thinking about ethic of justice? Ito yung social justice na component na 4 fundamental principles. What's your answer here? D. Correct answer is letter D. No? The ethic justice relates to the issue of dignity and worth, but not to oppression. And not to oppression. It is wrong. It is always along with oppression. Kasi yun yung nature ng justice. To serve, reasonable, experience to those who experience oppression. So, the correct answer is letter D. Mali na naman po ako because the word at least. Yan, be careful tayo next time, Miss Celine, kasi ang mga word like but, except, mga inappropriate, appropriate, yan, be careful tayo in choosing keywords. Okay. Last number, 50. Evaluate the perspective of the following social workers and determine which perspective most closely aligns with unifying purpose of social work. Basically, ang hinahanap lang dito, saan dito ng mga statement is aligned doon sa purpose ng social work. Sige, what's your answer? Letter D. Okay, tama lahat ng iyong answer, of course. Okay, letter A, Bob says the social work's unifying purpose is to facilitate social action that results in social change. Hindi, no? Kasi yung social change is one of the methodologies we use to promote social change. That is not the unifying purpose. Hindi lang tayo always na kakaroon ng social action. There are also other forms of intervention in other aspects of the problem. Letter B. Adriana believes that as a social worker, her main focus is activity by providing advice to people with problems. It is not, no? Kasi kung palagi lang tayong nakafocus on the individual problems, wala na doon sa system, bumabalik tayo doon sa old definition of social work. Letter C. Jake describes social work as including counseling and linking families with resources. No, it is not the only purpose. The purpose here, the ultimate answer and the best option is letter D. Maria indicates that she helps individuals, groups, or communities to enhance the capacities for social functioning and to create societal conditions for successful schools. So, target, micro, meso, macro, at the same time, the social functioning as a concept, individual environment, and societal conditions that permeates the growth of the individual in that specific environment. Okay. Sige, may katanungan?